stocks and get some perspective on the market. Vikas Pershad, founder and CEO of Veda Investments, is with us now. Vikas, morning. Thanks for joining in. What's your call for the year till the year end? Is the market going to break out above 5,000, or do you see a correction as more likely?
Good morning. Thanks for having me again. I think a correction has been something that we've been waiting for all year. Since March, people didn't believe in the rally in March and April. You've had detractors all year. I think a big correction, not likely. We've had these 5 to 10% sell-offs every once in a while, every few weeks. I think we'll be flattish into the end of the year. But I see no reason why India in particular should not hit all-time highs within the next 12, 18, 24 months. Just looking at the values that are out there, looking at the growth trajectories, it's not likely that we will have a huge sell-off anytime soon.
Vikas, morning. Some of your peers have made the case for a 20,000 Sensex by the time we're done with the year. How doable does that look?
By the end of this year, I think that's a little aggressive. These days, nothing would surprise me, but being up 15 to 20% between now and 6 weeks from now, it seems a little aggressive. But maybe by the end of Q1, I think that's not so aggressive.
So, do you own any telecom stocks in your portfolio now, Vikas, or have you cleaned them out?
Actually, that was one of the topics I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk about briefly. Since if you look back from May 18th, from the close on that day when we had that big spike after the election results, aside from the two REI companies, for the telecoms in the BSE 500 are by far the worst performing stocks. You have Bharti, Idea, Reliance, and Tata Communications all down 35% or so. I think the sell-off is overdone. The previous guest was talking about selling strangles, out of the money strangles, selling the puts and the calls. I do like that idea. I think it is a good idea in this situation. Perhaps not in a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm just not a big fan of selling naked calls. But maybe if you do 1.5 to 1 or 2 to 1, I do like the telecom valuations here. They're migrating towards more like utility type valuations. I am long some other telecom, emerging market telecom stocks around the world. There's MICC, leading provider in Africa and Latin America. There's VimpelCom in Russia. I think the competition here in India is getting quite tense. It has been evolving towards that point over the past 2 years or so. But this seems overdone in the telecom sector.
The other unloved space lately, Vikas, is the capital growth stroke infrastructure space. What do you still hold there?
In that space, nothing in India right now.
Why is that?
I've been spending a lot of time. The last time I was here in June, we spent a lot of time talking about healthcare, education, and infrastructure, capital goods. Now, if I own any capital goods stocks, they're more outside of India. I just find more appealing valuations in Japan, for example, and in the U.S. and in Europe. But I've been spending a lot more time on energy these days. I just think it's more appealing right now.
And how are you approaching commodity stocks, given what the dollar is doing in India, metals particularly?
Metals in particular, I am long gold. I am long uranium. I haven't spent much time in steel, but the metals are I think they're still interesting here. Copper as well.
I think the last time we spoke, you were a buyer and a believer in the Educom story, Vikas. People are quite unhappy with the change in accounting policies over there. How have you read them?
I think so. I can understand the concerns. However, about a month and a half ago, I spent a lot of time with the management team when they were in New York for the Kotak investment conference. I think a lot of these near-term changes and policies, it's just noise. I think over the long term, the value will be realized. So I'm still a fan. I think if you are already a shareholder, I would recommend you add a little at this price. If you're a long-term shareholder, then there's not a problem in initiating it at this price. If you look at what the company is looking to do over the next, not 6 months or 3 months, but 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, there's an incredible amount of value. They are the dominant player in India in that space, and education is something, especially in emerging markets, that I would want to be long. And in India in particular, Educomp is the name.
Do you own anything in the financial space, Vikas, aside of large names like SBI, ICICI Bank, which are very well researched? Anything below that level which interests you?
I have to confess, I haven't been spending much time on the financials. Just I am short some of the financials in the US and Europe, not long in India right now.
You mentioned energy, Vikas. I assume you would club power into that. Have you been participating in any of the power IPOs?
Adani Power, that was the only one.
What did you think of India Bulls Power?
It was not as appealing to me as some of the others, so I decided to stay away.
There's been a move in some of the auto ancillary related stocks, Vikas, and I believe your pick over there is Amara Raja Batteries.
Yes, interesting you mentioned that. I've been spending a lot of time on energy globally, and not just oil, which is a separate topic, but there's a difference between the storage energies and fueling energies that I think are viable and those that are not so viable. I think the non-viable ones are wind power and solar in the near term. I just don't think they're economic. We can talk about that if you like. But in the battery space, I'm long lithium companies and lithium-related companies around the world. So there's SQM based in Chile that I am long. I have an interest in batteries. I'm short some of the alkaline battery producers. I think that technology is becoming obsolete. But I am interested in autos and I am interested in storage energy. And if you look at that space, especially in Asia, Amara Raja Batteries has a very compelling valuation relative to them, to all the others. There's BYD in Hong Kong, which trades at 45 times forward earnings. Amara Raja trades at 9. So now if you look at the company, it hit all-time highs for the top line, even last year, in what was a very, very tough year. Decent margins, improving margins. The cost of raw materials has come down a little bit, so that has helped them. But compelling valuation, they have tie-ups with Maruti and Tata that will get them into, the Tata tie-up will get them into Africa. Johnson Controls, which is the world's leading battery manufacturer, it's a 90,000 crore market cap company based in the US, $18 billion. They own 26% of this, so there might be an event angle as well. At some point maybe they take up their stake. They are leading in the technology space for these batteries. So that is appealing to me. And one thing I did want to mention, if you look at a long-term chart of the company, back about 8 years ago, stock fell about 60-70%. It was down 30%, 15, 20, 10, day after day after day. That was for stock manipulation reasons that had little to do with the company or the current management. So if that is an overhang, I think you look past that.
I presume in looking at Amara Raja, you would have compared it with Exide also in the local market and chosen one over the other?
Yes. I just, with the valuation, the tie-ups, the stake with Johnson Controls, that adds a bit of the event angle. You have Johnson Controls, a company like that has a leading presence around the world, $18 billion market cap, and then you have Amara Raja, $250 million market cap company. There's a compelling strategic reason for them at some point to take up that stake at some point. So yes, I prefer that over Exide.
What about Suzlon in the alternative energy space? Do you like it, or you would give it a pass?
Pass. When I was back here in June, I might have mentioned it as being among my favorite shorts last year as well as this year. I think from the May 18th elections, it's down some 35-40%. Now, I understand that the company has been working on its balance sheet. They are selling some assets. However, if you look at there's Gamesa, which is a Spanish company. They reported earnings last night after the market closed in Europe. The market cap is twice that of Suzlon. If you go through their transcript, if you go through their news, they're starting to talk about 2011 already, because 2010 they know will be weak. The demand is just not there yet. The economics are not that compelling. I spent a day on a wind farm in the U.S. about a month and a half ago, and I understand the appeal. Very appealing technology, very appealing investment thesis on paper, but solar and wind are just not viable in the near term. So pass.
Okay, Vikas.
Very appealing scenery as well at a wind farm.
Thanks, Vikas, for joining in. You have a good stay in India.
Thank you very
That's
much.
the view from Veda Investments. The market is